The first time I couldn't get into my own house, I thought there'd been a mistake. My key wouldn't turn. I twisted it again, jiggled the handle, tried the back door. Nothing. Through the living room window, I could see Amara's backpack on the couch, the purple one with her name embroidered in yellow thread that I'd saved up 3 paychecks to buy her for her 7th birthday. Her favorite stuffed rabbit sat beside it. My heart hammered against my ribs. I just worked a 12-hour shift at Children's Memorial Hospital, my feet aching in my nursing shoes, my scrub still smelling like antiseptic and the strawberry shampoo we used on the kids in the pediatric ward. All I wanted was to kiss my baby girl goodnight, even if she was already asleep. To fall into my own bed. To be home. I called Devin. It went to voicemail. I called again. And again. On the 4th try he answered. "The locks are changed," he said. His voice was flat, like he was reading from a script. Like he hadn't been my husband for 8 years. Like we hadn't built this life together, brick by brick, paycheck by paycheck. "What do you mean the locks are changed?" "Devin, I just got off work. I'm standing outside in the cold. Where's Amara? Is she okay?" "She's fine. She's with me. Where she should be." The words hit me like a physical blow. I grabbed the porch railing to steady myself. "What are you talking about? Let me in. This is my house. Our house. Actually, it's my mother's house. Always has been. She co-signed, remember? Her name's on the deed." His tone shifted, became almost conversational, which somehow made it worse. "You should check your email. My lawyer sent you something this afternoon." My hands shook as I pulled out my phone. There it was, buried under messages from work and appointment reminders. A legal document with so many words I couldn't process them all at once. Petition for custody. Allegations of neglect. Emotional abuse. Unstable home environment. Endangerment. "Devin, this is insane. I would never hurt Amara. You know that. You know me. I know you work too much. I know Amara cries herself to sleep half the nights you're gone. I know she told my mother she's scared of you when you get angry. She told I couldn't breathe. That's not true. None of that is true. I work to support us, to pay the bills that you save it for the judge, Simone." The line went dead. I stood there on the porch of the house I'd cleaned every Sunday morning for 6 years, the house where I'd rocked Amara to sleep through colic and night terrors, where I'd hung her crayon drawings on the refrigerator with alphabet magnets. The motion sensor light clicked off, leaving me in darkness. I knocked. Pounded. Called Amara's name. Nothing. My neighbor Tasha came out in her bathrobe, concern written across her face. "Simone? What's going on?" I heard yelling. "Devin locked me out," I managed. "He won't let me see Amara." "What? He can't do that. That's your daughter. That's your house." Apparently it's his mother's house. I never realized. The tears came then, hot and angry and terrified all at once. Tasha pulled me into her arms. "Come inside. You're freezing. We'll figure this out." But sitting in Tasha's kitchen, nursing a cup of tea I couldn't taste, staring at that legal document on my phone screen, I knew there was nothing to figure out. Devin had planned this. Every word in that petition was calculated. Every accusation designed to paint me as the villain. And I'd never seen it coming. I read through the document 3 times that night. Each accusation cut deeper than the last. I yelled at Amara until she cried. I left her alone for hours. I was verbally abusive. I prioritized work over her safety. I was emotionally unstable and potentially dangerous. Lies. All lies. But they were written in legal language, stamped with an attorney's letterhead, filed with the family court. They looked official. They looked real. And somewhere in that house, my house, the house I'd painted and decorated and filled with love, my 7-year-old daughter was sleeping, probably wondering why her mama hadn't come home to tuck her in. I didn't sleep that night. I sat at Tasha's kitchen table and made a list of every bill I'd paid, every school pickup I'd made, every doctor's appointment I'd scheduled, every parent-teacher conference I'd attended. My hand cramped, but I kept writing. If Devin wanted to make me the bad guy, I'd prove him wrong. I just didn't know yet how much proof I was going to need. The temporary custody hearing was scheduled for 2 weeks out. 2 weeks of sleeping on Tasha's couch. 2 weeks of not seeing my daughter. 2 weeks of Devin's lawyer sending emails about the child's well-being and documented concerns. I couldn't afford the lawyer Devin's mother had hired for him, some guy named Preston Hill with a website full of 5-star reviews and a downtown office that probably cost more per month than I made in 3. But I found Rochelle Davis through a community legal aid referral, and when I walked into her small office above a barbershop on the south side, something in my chest loosened just a fraction. She was a black woman in her 40s with natural hair twisted into an elegant updo, wearing a navy suit that had seen better days but was pressed and professional. Her office was cramped but organized, files stacked neatly, a photo of two teenage boys on her desk. "Tell me everything," she said after I'd introduced myself. "Start from the beginning and don't leave anything out." So I did. I told her about meeting Devon at a church cookout 10 years ago, how he'd been charming and attentive, how we'd married after 2 years of dating, how his mother Gloria had always been involved, too involved, but I'd thought that was normal, how I'd worked my way up from nursing assistant to RN while pregnant with Amara, studied for my boards between feedings, graduated while Devon stayed home to figure out his business plans. Business plans? Rochelle looked up from her notes. He's been working on launching an app for the past 5 years. Some kind of social media thing. It hasn't launched yet. So you've been the primary breadwinner? The only breadwinner. The words tasted bitter. I paid the mortgage, the car note, the utilities, groceries, everything. Devon's mother helped sometimes, but the house. Tell me about the house. I explained how Gloria had co-signed when we couldn't qualify on Devon's credit alone, how she'd put down 20%, how I'd been making the mortgage payments ever since but never thought to check whose name was actually on the deed. Rochelle's expression darkened. "And you're not on the deed at all?" "No. Devon said it was easier to just have him and his mother on it for the loan. I didn't think I trusted him." She wrote something down, underlining it twice. "Okay. These allegations in the custody petition. Walk me through a typical day with Amara." I did. Wake up at 5:30 for my 6:30 shift. Devon would get Amara ready for school. I'd work 8 to 12 hours depending on patient load. Come home exhausted. Make dinner or pick up something quick. Help Amara with homework. Bath time, story time, bed. On my days off, we'd go to the park, the library, the science museum she loved. I went to every school event I could, swapped shifts to make her birthday parties, spent my lunch breaks calling to check on her when she was sick. "Does that sound like neglect to you?" I asked. "No," Rochelle said. "It sounds like you're a working mother doing her best. But here's what concerns me, these specific allegations. He's saying you yelled at Amara until she cried. Do you remember any incidents?" I thought back. Last month, she spilled juice all over her homework right before bed. I was frustrated. I said she needed to be more careful, that I was tired and we didn't have time to redo everything. She cried. But I didn't yell at her. I was stressed. Was Devon there? He was in the other room. He came out and comforted her. Made me feel like I'd done something terrible. I paused. Oh is right. Rochelle leaned back in her chair. I'm going to make an educated guess here. These incidents, he's documenting their real moments but twisted. You're human. You get tired. You probably raised your voice once or twice in 7 years. But he's been collecting them. Building a case. The room tilted. Why would he do that? Why does any man do this? Control. Money. Maybe there's someone else. Maybe his mama wants to raise Amara her way. Maybe he's tired of being the one without income and wants to flip the script, make you the bad guy so he can take everything. She softened her voice. But here's what matters now: we build your case. Document everything from this point forward. Every text, every email, every interaction. Get me proof of every payment you've made. Every school event you attended. I want photos, receipts, calendar entries, text messages, everything. I have some of that already. Good. Get me more. And Simone. She met my eyes. This is going to get ugly before it gets better. He's going to try to provoke you. Don't take the bait. Don't respond to his messages except through me. Don't show up at the house. Don't do anything that could be twisted into looking unstable. I nodded, but inside I was screaming. How was I supposed to stay calm when I hadn't seen my daughter in 3 days? When I didn't know if she was okay, if she was scared, if she thought I'd abandoned her? Rochelle must have read my face. I know this is hell. But if you want to win, you have to be smarter than him. Calmer than him. Better documented than him. I left her office with a plan and a hollow ache in my chest. That night, I started going through everything. 7 years of bank statements. Credit card bills. PayPal receipts. Every payment I'd made for Amara's school supplies, clothes, medical bills, birthday parties, Christmas presents. Every mortgage payment that came out of my account. Every utility bill in my name. The pattern was unmistakable once I saw it. I'd been paying for everything while Devon contributed nothing. For years. And somehow he'd convinced me that I was the problem. The temporary custody order gave me 2 supervised visits per week, 1 hour each at a family services center downtown. The first visit was on a Wednesday afternoon. I'd taken a half day off work, changed out of my scrubs into jeans and a sweater, tried to look like a normal mother instead of someone whose entire world had been shredded. The Family Services Center was a squat brick building with fluorescent lights and worn carpet. A supervisor named Mrs. Chen checked me in, explained the rules in a monotone voice. No physical discipline. No discussing the court case. No upsetting the child. Stay in the observation room where I could be monitored through the two-way mirror. I'm her mother, I said quietly. I've never hurt her. Why do I need to be supervised? Mrs. Chen's expression was neutral. It's court-ordered, ma'am. This is just procedure. Procedure. As if my life was a checklist item. They brought Amara in 15 minutes later. My baby girl. She looked small in the big room, wearing a pink dress I'd never seen before. Her hair was done in 2 puffs with ribbons that didn't match. Gloria's handiwork, not mine. I always did her hair in 4 neat cornrows that would last through the week. Mama? She ran to me and I caught her, held her so tight I thought my ribs would crack. She smelled different. Wrong. Some kind of flowery lotion that wasn't our usual cocoa butter. Hi, baby. Hi, sweet girl. I missed you so much. I pulled back to look at her face, checking for signs of distress, fear, anything wrong. But she looked okay. Confused but okay. Why didn't you come home? She asked. Daddy said you were too busy with work. My throat closed up. That's not I wanted to come home, baby. Something happened with the house keys. But I'm here now, okay? I'm right here. We sat on the floor and she showed me a drawing she'd made at school, a house with stick figures. That's you and me and Daddy and Grandma Gloria, she said, pointing to each one. It's beautiful, I said, but my eyes were stuck on the positioning. Amara had drawn herself between Devon and Gloria. I was off to the side, separated. Grandma Gloria says I'm gonna live with them now. She says you have to work too much to take care of me. Amara's voice was small. Matter of fact. Like she was reciting something she'd been told over and over. I wanted to scream. I wanted to grab my daughter and run. Instead, I kept my voice gentle. I do work a lot because I take care of sick kids at the hospital. But that doesn't mean I love you any less. You're the most important thing in my whole world. Grandma says you get angry. Sometimes grown-ups get tired and frustrated, but that doesn't mean I don't love you. Do you feel scared of me? She shook her head. No. I miss you, Mama. I miss you too, baby. The rest of the hour passed too quickly. We read books from the center's small library. She told me about school, about how her best friend Kendra got in trouble for talking during quiet time. Normal 7-year-old things. But there was a wariness in her eyes that hadn't been there before. A hesitation when I reached to hug her goodbye. When can I see you again? She asked. Friday, I said, my voice cracking. I'll be here Friday. 2 days. Just 2 days. Mrs. Chen came to collect her. Amara looked back twice as they walked down the hall. The second time she was crying. I made it to my car before I broke down. That night I documented everything. What Amara had said about Gloria coaching her. The new dress and hairstyle. The drawing with me separated from the family. Every word, every detail. Rochelle had told me to write it all down while it was fresh, and I did, even though my hands shook and my vision blurred with tears. Tasha found me at her kitchen table at 2 a.m, surrounded by papers. You should sleep, she said gently. I can't. I looked up at her. They're brainwashing her. Gloria's filling her head with lies and I only get 2 hours a week to counter it. How am I supposed to win this? You win by doing exactly what you're doing. Showing up. Documenting. Being the mother you've always been. She sat down across from me. Simone, I've known you for 4 years. I've watched you with that little girl. Everyone on this street has. You're a good mother. The best. And people will testify to that if it comes to it. Would you? Testify? In a heartbeat. I added her name to my witness list. Then I kept writing. Every school pickup I'd made. Every time I'd taken Amara to the doctor. Every birthday party, every playdate, every time I'd stayed up all night when she was sick. 7 years of motherhood that Devon was trying to erase with lies. But I had proof. I just had to organize it. 2 things happened in week 3 that changed everything. First, I got a call from Regina, my nursing supervisor at the hospital. Simone, I need you to come in early today. We need to talk. My stomach dropped. Is this about my schedule? I submitted those time-off requests for the court dates. Just come in. I met her in her office an hour before my shift. Regina was a sturdy woman in her mid-40s who'd worked her way up from bedside nurse to management, who'd mentored me through my transition to pediatrics, who'd never looked at me with anything but respect and kindness. Until today. Today she looked worried. I got a call from a lawyer yesterday, she said carefully. Preston Hill. He's requesting your employment records, performance reviews, disciplinary actions, schedule history. What? Why? He said he's representing your husband in a custody case and needs to verify your work history and reliability. The room spun. Regina, I've never been disciplined. You know that. I've won employee of the quarter twice. I've never missed a shift without advance notice. I know. She held up a hand. I know all of that, which is why I wanted to talk to you before responding. Simone, what's going on? I told her. Not everything but enough. The lockout. The false allegations. The custody battle. Regina's expression hardened. So he's trying to make you look like an unreliable employee to support his case? I guess so. Well, he's not getting anything from me except glowing reviews and documentation of your perfect attendance record. She pulled out a file. In fact, I pulled your entire employment history this morning. Every commendation. Every performance review. Every time you stayed late to help with an emergency. It's all here and I'm making copies for your lawyer. Relief crashed over me so hard I almost sobbed. Thank you. Thank you so much. You're one of my best nurses, Regina said firmly. And more than that, you're a good person. Whatever is happening in your personal life, it's not going to cost you your job or your reputation here. Not if I have anything to say about it. I left her office with a thick folder of documents and something I hadn't felt in weeks. Hope. The second thing happened that night. I was at Tasha's apartment, going through my phone looking for old text messages between Devin and me that might be useful for court. Scrolling back through months and months of, "Can you pick up milk?" and "Amara has soccer practice at 4, and I'll be late tonight." Then I found something else. A text thread from 8 months ago. I'd forgotten about it because it had seemed like nothing at the time. Devin asking me to look at his phone because his wasn't charging properly. Me picking it up to check the charging port. And a notification popping up from a contact saved as Alex from the gym. "Can't wait to see you tomorrow night." Same hotel? I'd asked him about it. He'd said Alex was a guy from the gym, they were going to watch a game, the notification was autocorrect mess up. I'd believed him because why wouldn't I? We'd been married for 8 years. We had a daughter. We were building a life together. But now, scrolling through my phone, I found a screenshot I'd taken of that message. I'd taken it in the moment and then forgotten about it, dismissed it, moved on. Now I stared at it. Same hotel. I opened my laptop and logged into our shared bank account, the one I paid into and Devin used for household expenses. I searched for hotel charges. Found 3 in the past year. All on nights when I'd been working late shifts. All charged to the credit card I paid off every month. My hands started shaking. I searched for restaurant charges. Found dozens at places we'd never been together. Expensive places. Then I found the Venmo transfers. Small amounts, $50 or $75 at a time, sent to an account under the name Alexis Pope. With little heart emojis in the memo line. Devin had been having an affair. For at least a year. On my dime. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw the laptop across the room. Instead, I took screenshots of everything. Every hotel charge. Every restaurant receipt. Every Venmo payment. I downloaded the bank statements going back 2 years and saved them in 3 different places. Then I called Rochelle. "This changes things," she said after I'd explained. "It gives us motive. He's been planning to leave you for someone else. Maybe she doesn't want a kid in the picture. Maybe he needs you gone so he can start fresh. Either way, this shows premeditation. He didn't suddenly decide you were a bad mother. He's been building a case while carrying on an affair. Can we use this in court?" Absolutely. It speaks to his character, his credibility, his financial abuse. A judge is going to want to know why he's spending marital assets on hotel rooms with another woman while you're working 12-hour shifts to keep the lights on. "I want him destroyed," I said and meant it. "I know. But remember, this is about Amara. We use this strategically. We don't lead with it. We save it for when his lawyer tries to paint him as father of the year." That night I couldn't sleep again. But this time it wasn't from fear. It was from anger. Cold, focused anger. Devin had been playing me for a fool. Using my money to fund his affair while setting me up to lose my daughter. And his mother had been helping him do it, probably planning to raise Amara herself while Devin started his new life with Alexis. But they'd made a mistake. They'd underestimated me. I spent the next week digging through everything. Every shared document. Every email. Every photo on my phone. I found pictures from Amara's school events, me in the audience, Devin nowhere to be seen. I found emails from her teacher praising my involvement. I found receipt after receipt for things I'd bought her while Devon bought nothing. I made spreadsheets, timelines, documentation of every lie Devon had told in his custody petition, with proof to counter it. I was going to bury him. The preliminary custody hearing was set for a Monday morning. I'd taken the day off work, put on my best outfit, a dark gray dress that made me look professional and serious, and met Rochelle outside the courthouse at 8:30. "Remember," she said as we walked in, "stay calm no matter what. Don't react visibly to anything his lawyer says. We're here to show you're the stable, reliable parent." "I'm ready." Devon was already in the courtroom with Preston Hill, his lawyer. Gloria sat in the front row behind them, wearing a church hat and a smug expression. She didn't even look at me. The judge was a black woman in her 50s named Judge Loretta Hayes. I felt a small flutter of hope seeing her. Maybe she'd understand. Maybe she'd see through Devon's lies. Devon's lawyer went first, painting a picture of me that I barely recognized. A woman who worked constantly, who left her child in questionable care, who had anger management issues and an unstable temper. He had statements from Gloria claiming she'd witnessed me yelling at Amara multiple times. He had Devon's testimony that I'd once locked myself in the bedroom for 2 hours while Amara cried outside the door. That last one was real, sort of. I'd had the flu. I'd been vomiting and didn't want Amara to see me like that or catch what I had. Devon had been home. He could have comforted her. Instead, he'd let her cry and documented it as abandonment. I felt Rochelle's hand on my arm, a warning not to react. When it was our turn, Rochelle started simple. "Your Honor, my client is a registered nurse working at Children's Memorial Hospital. She has an exemplary employment record spanning 7 years. She is the sole financial provider for her family and has been throughout her marriage." She submitted Regina's documentation. My employment history, performance reviews, commendations. Ms. Fletcher has never missed a parent-teacher conference. She has attended every school event her schedule allowed and made arrangements for coverage when it didn't. She has paid for every aspect of her daughter's care, from medical expenses to school supplies to extracurricular activities. We have documentation proving she has been the primary caregiver financially, emotionally, and practically. Preston Hill objected. "Financial contribution doesn't equate to emotional availability, Your Honor. My client has been the stay-at-home parent, providing daily care while Ms. Fletcher prioritized her career." "Your client has been unemployed for 5 years, Rochelle countered. "There's a difference between being a stay-at-home parent and being a dependent adult, particularly when that adult has been spending marital assets on unauthorized expenses." She submitted the bank statements, the hotel charges, the Venmo payments. Devon's face went white. Gloria half stood from her seat before Preston grabbed her arm. Judge Hayes raised an eyebrow. "Mr. Hill, does your client care to explain these hotel charges?" Preston scrambled. "Your Honor, we weren't aware of these allegations. We need time to review." "I'm sure you do," Judge Hayes said dryly. She looked at the documents, then at Devon. "Mr. Fletcher, are you currently in a relationship with someone other than your wife?" "We're separated," Devon said weakly. "You weren't separated when these charges occurred." She looked back at Rochelle. "Continue." Rochelle submitted everything. The timeline of payments showing I'd supported the family alone. Text messages showing Devon had been aware of and approved of my work schedule. Photos of me at Amara's school events. Statements from Tasha testifying to my good character and involved parenting. A letter from Amara's teacher praising my attendance at conferences and involvement in her education. "Your Honor," Rochelle said, "Mr. Fletcher has presented a narrative of abandonment and neglect that falls apart under scrutiny. The truth is that Ms. Fletcher has worked tirelessly to provide for her family while Mr. Fletcher contributed nothing financially and, based on the evidence, little practically. He has now constructed a false narrative to justify taking custody of a child Ms. Fletcher has supported and cared for throughout her life." Preston tried to recover. He argued that I worked too much. That Amara needed stability. That Gloria could provide full-time care that I couldn't. "Mrs. Fletcher," Judge Hayes said, addressing Gloria directly. "You're listed as a co-petitioner for custody. What is your relationship to the child?" Gloria stood, smoothed her skirt. "I'm her grandmother, Your Honor. I've been very involved in her upbringing since her mother is always working. Someone needs to provide that child with proper guidance and structure. And you believe you're better suited to raise this child than her mother?" "I believe I'm more available. I have the time and resources to give her the attention she deserves." Judge Hayes looked unimpressed. "Ms. Davis, does your client have any concerns about the grandmother's involvement?" Rochelle stood. Yes, Your Honor. We believe Mrs. Gloria Fletcher has been inappropriately coaching the child. During supervised visitation, the child repeated statements that appeared to be rehearsed, including claims that her mother is too busy and gets angry. These statements contradict the child's previous behavior and relationship with her mother. We're concerned about parental alienation. That's ridiculous, Gloria snapped. I would never. Mrs. Fletcher, Judge Hayes said sharply, you'll have your turn to speak. Sit down. Gloria sat, her face tight with fury. Judge Hayes reviewed the documents for what felt like an eternity. Finally, she looked up. I'm going to order a full custody evaluation including a psychological assessment of the child. I want a neutral child psychologist to interview the child, both parents and any relevant family members. Based on the conflicting narratives presented here, I believe we need a professional evaluation before making any permanent custody decisions. My heart sank. More waiting. More time away from Amara. But then Judge Hayes continued. However, I'm also modifying the temporary custody arrangement. Ms. Fletcher will have expanded visitation 3 supervised visits per week instead of 2, with the potential for unsupervised visits pending the evaluator's initial assessment. Mr. Fletcher, you and your mother are expressly forbidden from discussing the custody case with the child or making any disparaging remarks about Ms. Fletcher in her presence. Any evidence of parental alienation will result in immediate modification of custody. Am I clear? Yes, Your Honor, Devon mumbled. Ms. Fletcher, you're to continue supervised visits until the evaluation is complete. But I'm also ordering Mr. Fletcher to provide a full accounting of marital assets and expenditures. If what Ms. Davis has presented is accurate, we'll be addressing that separately. We left the courthouse with a mixed victory. I wasn't getting Amara back yet, but I wasn't losing ground either. And Devon's house of cards was starting to collapse. That went well, Rochelle said as we stood on the courthouse steps. The judge saw right through him. But Amara's still with him. For now. But the custody evaluator is going to see what we see. Especially if Gloria keeps coaching her. These types always overplay their hand. I hope she was right. Because I was running out of strength to keep fighting. Dr. Patricia Morgan arrived in my life 3 weeks later with a clipboard, a kind face and eyes that missed nothing. She was a black woman in her 50s with silver-streaked locks pulled back in a low bun, wearing a simple green dress and comfortable shoes. Her office was in a medical building near the courthouse, filled with toys and books and soft lighting that made it feel less clinical. Miss Fletcher, she said, shaking my hand. Thank you for coming in. I know this process is difficult. Anything to get my daughter back, I said. She smiled slightly. Let's talk about Amara first. Tell me about her. Not about the custody case, not about your husband. Just Amara. Who is she? The question caught me off guard. For weeks, everyone had asked me about documents and evidence and allegations. Nobody had asked me about my daughter. She's funny, I said, my voice softening. She does these voices when she reads her books, like she's putting on a play. She's obsessed with space, wants to be an astronaut. She's scared of thunderstorms, but she'll stand up for her friends on the playground even when the other kids are bigger. She remembers every kind thing anyone does for her. Last year, a classmate shared her snack when Amara forgot hers, and Amara still talks about it. She's gentle with animals. She cries at sad movies. She gives the best hugs. Dr. Morgan was writing notes. What's her morning routine like? When I'm there, I wake her up at 6:30 with tickles or by singing her favorite song. She's not a morning person, so it takes a few minutes. She brushes her teeth while I do her hair. She likes cornrows because they last all week and she doesn't have to think about it. She picks out her clothes the night before so there's no rush. I make her breakfast while she gets dressed. Usually oatmeal with cinnamon and berries, or scrambled eggs with toast. She takes forever to eat because she talks the whole time about her dreams or what she wants to do at school. Then we pack her backpack together, check that she has everything, and I walk her to the bus stop. I wait with her until the bus comes, and she waves to me from the window until I can't see her anymore. My voice cracked on the last sentence. It had been 6 weeks since I'd done that morning routine. 6 weeks since I'd walked her to the bus stop. And after school? She does homework right away so it's done. She hates leaving it for later. We do it at the kitchen table and I help if she's stuck. Then she has free time, she'll draw or play with her toys or watch her space documentaries. I make dinner. We eat together and talk about our days. Then bath, story time, prayers, bed. She likes the same 3 books on rotation. The Snowy Day, Last Stop on Market Street, and this space book about planets. I've read them so many times I have them memorized. Do you ever lose your temper with her? I met her eyes. Sometimes I get frustrated. If I've worked a long shift and I'm exhausted and she's being difficult about bedtime or homework, yeah, I might get short with her. I might say, Amara, I need you to listen right now in a firm voice. But I've never screamed at her. Never called her names. Never hit her. The worst I've ever done is send her to her room to cool off when she was having a tantrum. Has she ever seemed afraid of you? No. Never. She runs to me when she's scared or hurt. She tells me everything. At least she used to. I swallowed hard. Before all this happened, before Devin locked me out, she'd come home from school and talk my ear off about everything that happened. Who said what, who played what game, what they had for lunch. She trusted me with everything. Dr. Morgan made more notes. We talked for 2 hours. She asked about my childhood, my education, my work, my marriage. She asked how I handled stress, conflict, discipline. She asked about my support system, my plans for the future, my understanding of what Amara needed. Then she had me do some kind of psychological assessment, answering questions about my mood, my coping mechanisms, whether I'd ever felt hopeless or had thoughts of harming myself or others. I answered honestly. No, I'd never been depressed or suicidal. Yes, I was stressed and angry about the custody situation. No, I'd never harmed anyone or had thoughts of doing so. At the end, she said, I'll be interviewing Amara next week, then your husband and his mother. I'll also be reviewing all the documentation both sides have submitted. My report will go to the judge within 30 days. What happens if I couldn't finish the sentence? Miss Fletcher, my job is to determine what's in Amara's best interest. That's all I care about. Not what your husband wants, not what his mother wants, not even what you want. I look at who Amara is, what she needs, and where she'll thrive. The truth tends to be pretty clear once you dig past the accusations and counter-accusations. I left her office feeling wrung out but cautiously hopeful. She'd listened. Really listened. And she hadn't looked at me like I was the villain. 2 days later, I got a call from Rochelle. Dr. Morgan completed Amara's evaluation. She wants to meet with me before filing her report. Is that normal? It means she has concerns. Could go either way. The waiting was agony. I went to work, came home to Tasha's apartment, attended my supervised visits with Amara, and tried not to fall apart. Amara was quieter during the visits now. More withdrawn. She'd answer my questions but didn't volunteer information. She didn't run to me anymore when she entered the room. Gloria was destroying my relationship with my daughter, and I was powerless to stop it. Then, 8 days after my evaluation, Rochelle called me. Dr. Morgan filed her report. You need to see this. I met her at her office. She handed me a thick document, flagged with yellow sticky notes on the important pages. I read the summary first. Based on extensive evaluation including interviews, psychological assessment, and review of documentation, it is this evaluator's opinion that the child, Amara Fletcher, would best be served by primary custody with her mother, Simone Fletcher. Evidence of parental alienation by the paternal grandmother, Gloria Fletcher, is significant and concerning. The child displayed coached responses and rehearsed language inconsistent with her developmental stage. The child's relationship with her mother shows signs of secure attachment that has been disrupted by recent circumstances rather than any deficiency in maternal care. I read it again. And again. She's recommending custody to you, Rochelle said. Not just joint custody. Primary custody. Oh my God, I whispered. There's more. Read the section on Devin. I flipped to the highlighted pages. Mr. Fletcher presented as defensive and evasive during his evaluation. When asked about his employment history and financial contributions to the household, he became hostile and blamed his wife for making him feel inadequate. He showed limited understanding of his daughter's daily routine, educational needs, or emotional state. When asked about his daughter's current teacher's name, favorite subject, or recent school projects, he was unable to provide answers. He repeatedly referred to his mother as the primary caregiver rather than himself, contradicting his claims of being a stay-at-home parent. He didn't even know her teacher's name, I said, because he never went to school events, never helped with homework. He wasn't parenting, his mother was, and he was just there. I kept reading. The section on Gloria was damning. Mrs. Gloria Fletcher displayed a level of enmeshment with her son and granddaughter that raises serious concerns. She repeatedly spoke over Mr. Fletcher during the joint interview and answered questions directed to him. She made several disparaging comments about Ms. Fletcher, calling her selfish and career-obsessed. When asked what activities she does with Amara, She described a routine that appears to prioritize molding the child to her preferences rather than supporting the child's individual interests and development. Most concerning, when asked directly if she had discussed the custody case with Amara, she initially denied it, then admitted to telling the child that, "Mama needs to work on herself before she can take care of you properly." This constitutes parental alienation and coaching. I looked up at Rochelle, tears streaming down my face. She believes me. She sees what they're doing. The judge is going to see this report before the final hearing. And I promise you, Simone, this changes everything. Devon's lawyer tried to discredit Dr. Morgan's report. He filed a motion claiming bias, arguing that she'd given too much weight to financial contributions and not enough to emotional availability. He submitted a counter-evaluation from a psychologist his mother had paid for some guy who'd interviewed them for an hour and concluded that Amara was thriving in Devon and Gloria's care. Judge Hayes rejected the motion. Dr. Morgan is a court-appointed evaluator with 20 years of experience and an impeccable record. I'm not going to disregard her professional opinion because you don't like what it says. The final custody hearing was scheduled for 8 weeks out. In the meantime, based on Dr. Morgan's recommendation, Judge Hayes modified the visitation order. I could now have unsupervised visits with Amara on weekends, 4 hours each Saturday and Sunday. The first unsupervised visit, I picked Amara up from Devon's mother's house because of course they'd moved in with Gloria instead of staying at their house. The house I'd paid for but couldn't enter. Gloria answered the door with a tight smile that didn't reach her eyes. 4 hours. She needs to be back by 3. I know the court order, I said evenly. Amara appeared behind her, wearing another dress I didn't recognize. Her hair was in 2 puffs again, already frizzing. I made a mental note to bring hair supplies next time. "Hi, baby," I said, keeping my voice light. "Ready to go?" She nodded but didn't run to me. Just walked slowly, like she was going to a dentist appointment instead of spending time with her mother. I'd planned the day carefully. First stop, the library. Amara had always loved the library, spending hours in the children's section picking out books about space and science. We'd had a routine Saturday mornings were library days when I wasn't working. As we walked through the doors, I saw something shift in her face. Recognition. Comfort. "Can we go to the space section?" she asked quietly. "Of course, baby. That's why we're here." We spent an hour looking at books. I didn't push her to talk. Just let her explore, offered observations when she showed me something interesting, followed her lead. Slowly, gradually she started to relax. Started to look more like my Amara and less like the coached, withdrawn version Gloria had been creating. "Mama," she said as we checked out a stack of books, "Grandma Gloria said you didn't want to see me anymore." My heart stopped. I knelt down to her level, right there in the middle of the library. "Amara, look at me. That is not true. I want to see you every single day. I've been trying so hard to see you. Do you know what supervised visits are?" She shook her head. "It means I had to go to a special place with a person watching us because there was a misunderstanding about some grown-up stuff. But I never ever stopped wanting to see you. I missed you every single second. Grandma said you chose work over me. I work so we can have a house and food and all the things you need. But I never choose work over you. You're the most important thing in the whole world to me. Do you remember all our library Saturdays? All the times I came to your school? All the times we went to the museum?" She nodded slowly. "That's because I love you. Nothing has changed about that. Some things happened between me and your daddy, grown-up things that aren't your fault and aren't about you. But my love for you has never changed and never will." A tear rolled down her cheek. "I miss you, Mama. I miss you too, baby." I pulled her into a hug and she held on tight. "I'm going to fix this, okay? I promise." We went to the Science Museum next. Amara loved the planetarium show, her eyes wide as she watched stars and planets projected on the ceiling. She held my hand the whole time. During lunch at her favorite place, the pizza shop where they let you design your own pizza with unlimited toppings, she started talking more. Telling me about school, about her friends, about the things she'd been doing with Gloria. "Grandma makes me go to church 3 times a week now," she said. "I don't like it. It's boring and I don't have time to play." "What do you mean 3 times a week?" "Sunday morning, Wednesday night, and Saturday morning. She says I need to be closer to God." I bit back my anger. Gloria was controlling every aspect of Amara's life, molding her into some image that had nothing to do with who Amara actually was. "Well, when you're with me, we'll do things you like," I said. "Library, museum, park, whatever you want." When I dropped her back at Gloria's house at 3 o'clock exactly, Amara hugged me tight. "Can I see you again soon?" "Next Saturday, baby. And Sunday." Every weekend. Promise. Promise. Gloria appeared at the door, her expression sour. Did you have a nice time undermining everything we've taught her? I didn't take the bait. Just kissed Amara's forehead and said, I'll see you Saturday, sweet girl. As I drove away, I saw Gloria already ushering Amara inside, no doubt ready to recoach her. But it didn't matter. Because I'd seen my daughter start to come back to me. And I knew Dr. Morgan had been right. Over the next few weeks, the weekend visits got easier. Amara relaxed more quickly, talked more freely. She started asking when she could come home with me, why she had to live with Grandma Gloria, when things would go back to normal. Soon, I told her. Very soon. I documented everything. Every conversation where she mentioned Gloria coaching her. Every time she said she missed me or wanted to live with me. Every moment that showed our bond was still strong despite Devin and Gloria's attempts to sever it. And I waited for the final hearing, where I'd finally get to tell my full story to the judge. The final custody hearing fell on a Tuesday in late September. I'd taken the whole day off work, arrived at the courthouse an hour early, sat on a bench outside the courtroom going over my notes with Rochelle. Remember, she said, tell the truth clearly and simply. Don't get defensive when Preston attacks you. Don't show anger toward Devin or Gloria even though they deserve it. You're the calm, rational, loving parent. Let them be the ones who look unstable. The courtroom filled slowly. Devin and Preston on one side. Gloria in the row behind them. Tasha in the row behind me, my only support. Rochelle had warned me not to bring a crowd. We wanted to look restrained, not like we were making a show. Judge Hayes entered and we all stood. Then we began. Preston went first, trying to salvage Devin's case despite Dr. Morgan's damning report. He called Devin to the stand. Devin looked nervous, kept glancing at his mother. He testified about being home with Amara every day, about being the one who handled her daily needs while I was at work. He painted a picture of himself as a devoted stay-at-home dad sacrificing his career to raise his daughter. Then Rochelle cross-examined him. Mr. Fletcher, what's Amara's teacher's name? Mrs. I don't remember her last name. Something with an S. It's Ms. Anderson. Has been all year. When was the last time you attended a parent-teacher conference? Gloria usually goes to those. So you don't attend. What's Amara's favorite subject? Science. I think. It's reading. She wants to be an astronaut, which requires science, but her favorite subject is reading. When's the last time you read with her? I don't. We watch educational shows instead. What shows? Space stuff. Discovery Channel. Can you name one show? He couldn't. Rochelle pulled out bank statements. Mr. Fletcher, can you explain these hotel charges? The Venmo payments to Alexis Pope? The restaurant expenses at establishments you claim you never visited with your wife? Devin stammered. Tried to explain. Dug himself deeper with every word. Were you having an affair during your marriage? We were having problems. That's not what I asked. Were you in a romantic relationship with someone other than your wife while you were still married and living in the marital home? Yes, but... And you funded this affair using bank accounts your wife maintained and credit cards she paid off? It wasn't like that. You have no income, correct? No job? No savings of your own? I was taking care of Amara, while your mother did most of the actual childcare and your wife paid all the bills. No further questions. Devin practically ran from the stand. Gloria looked ready to explode. Preston called Gloria next. She took the stand like she was testifying at a tent revival, all righteous indignation and wounded pride. She testified about how devoted she'd been to Amara, how she'd stepped in because I was always working, how Amara was thriving under her care. Then Rochelle stood up. Mrs. Fletcher, did you tell Amara that her mother didn't want to see her anymore? I never. Did you tell Amara that her mother chose work over her? I may have said something about how much her mother works. Did you tell Amara that her mother needed to work on herself before she could take care of her? Gloria's face flushed. I was trying to explain why. You were coaching a 7-year-old child to believe her mother had abandoned her. Yes or no? I was protecting her from confusion. Yes or no, Mrs. Fletcher? Yes, I told her things to help her understand. You told her lies to alienate her from her mother. Mrs. Fletcher, how many times per week do you take Amara to church? 3. Sunday service, Wednesday prayer, Saturday Bible study. Does Amara enjoy this? She's learning good values. Does she enjoy it? Gloria hesitated. Children don't always enjoy what's good for them. So no. Mrs. Fletcher, what are Amara's hobbies? What does she like to do in her free time? She plays with her toys, watches television. Does she have any particular interests? She likes church activities. Before she came to live with you, what did she like? I'm not sure. I was never informed of her interests. Rochelle looked incredulous. You've been involved in her life for 7 years and you don't know she's obsessed with space and wants to be an astronaut? That she loves the library? That she hates thunderstorms? That she reads the same 3 books every night before bed? Gloria had no answer. No further questions. Then it was my turn. I walked to the stand on shaking legs, put my hand on the Bible, swore to tell the truth. Rochelle asked me to tell my story. So I did. I told the judge about working my way through nursing school while pregnant. About the years of being the sole provider while Devin figured things out. About paying every bill, attending every school event I could, being there for Amara every single day despite working full-time. I told her about coming home to changed locks. About the false allegations. About the supervised visits where I watched my daughter become a stranger. I told her about the documentation I'd kept. Every receipt. Every payment. Every school event attended. Every doctor's appointment scheduled. 7 years of being a mother, all backed up with proof. Miss Fletcher, Rochelle said gently, why do you want custody of Amara? Because she's my daughter, I said, my voice breaking. Because I've loved her since the moment I knew she existed. Because I've worked myself to exhaustion to give her everything she needs. Because I know her, really know her, not some version someone is trying to mold her into. I know she's scared of thunder but brave in every other way. I know she gives the best hugs and cries at sad movies and wants to explore the stars. I know how to do her hair and what she likes for breakfast and which books she wants read at bedtime. I'm her mother. I've always been her mother. And I'm not going to let lies and manipulation take her away from me. Preston cross-examined me. Tried to make me seem angry, vindictive, career-obsessed. But I'd prepared for this. I stayed calm. Answered every question clearly. You work long hours, don't you? I work full-time as a nurse, yes. Like millions of working mothers. Don't you think Amara deserves a parent who's home with her? She deserves a parent who provides for her and loves her and shows up for her. Which I do. You've said you sometimes get frustrated with her. I'm human. All parents get frustrated sometimes. But I've never abused her, never neglected her, never done anything to harm her. Your husband claims. My husband has lied about a lot of things. The evidence speaks for itself. When I left the stand, I felt wrung out but strong. I told the truth. The whole truth. And it was all there in the documentation to back me up. Rochelle called Tasha next. She testified about witnessing my parenting for 4 years, about my devotion to Amara, about the night Devin locked me out and how devastated I'd been. Then Regina, my supervisor, testified about my work ethic and reliability. Finally, Dr. Morgan took the stand to explain her evaluation in detail. She didn't pull punches. She described Gloria's coaching as severe parental alienation. She said Devin showed limited understanding of his daughter's needs and development. She said I demonstrated secure attachment with the child and appropriate parenting throughout the evaluation. In your professional opinion, Rochelle asked, what custody arrangement would best serve Amara's interests? Primary physical custody with Miss Fletcher, with visitation for the father supervised initially given the parental alienation concerns. Mrs. Gloria Fletcher should have no unsupervised contact with the child until she completes parenting classes focused on appropriate boundaries. Preston tried to discredit her. Failed. Dr. Morgan had done her job thoroughly and her conclusions were unassailable. When the testimony ended, Judge Hayes said she'd issue her ruling within a week. We all stood as she left the courtroom. I walked out into the hallway and Tasha grabbed me in a hug. You did it. You told your truth and it was powerful. I hope it was enough, I said. Rochelle squeezed my shoulder. It was. Trust me. We're going to win this. The call came on a Monday morning. I was at work finishing up my shift when my phone buzzed. Rochelle's number. The judge issued her ruling, Rochelle said. Can you come to my office? Just tell me. My hands were shaking. Please. You won. I had to sit down. My legs gave out and I sank into the chair at the nurse's station. Say that again. You won, Simone. Full primary physical custody. Devin gets supervised visitation every other weekend until he completes parenting classes and demonstrates he can co-parent without involving his mother. Gloria is prohibited from unsupervised contact with Amara for 6 months, and even after that, any time she spends with Amara has to be approved by you. I couldn't speak. Couldn't breathe. There's more, Rochelle continued. The judge ruled that the house belongs to the marital estate regardless of whose name is on the deed, since you paid the mortgage. She's ordering it sold and the proceeds split. She also ruled that Devin has to pay you back for the affair-related expenses, all those hotel rooms and dinners he charged to your credit cards. And she's referring Gloria to the state bar for potential ethics violations related to the parental alienation. I can bring Amara home? I finally managed. You can bring Amara home. Today if you want. The court order is effective immediately. I called Regina, explained through tears that I needed to leave. She hugged me and told me to take the rest of the week off. I drove to Rochelle's office, read the full ruling, cried over every word. Judge Hayes hadn't held back. Her ruling was scathing. Mr. Fletcher and Mrs. Gloria Fletcher engaged in a systematic campaign to alienate the child from her mother through false allegations and emotional manipulation. Ms. Simone Fletcher has demonstrated through overwhelming evidence that she has been the primary caregiver both financially and emotionally throughout the child's life. The allegations of neglect and abuse are not supported by any credible evidence and appear to have been fabricated to support Mr. Fletcher's custody petition. This court will not reward such behavior. Then I drove to Gloria's house. Parked outside. Called Rochelle to make sure I was doing this right. You have the court order, she said. You have every legal right to take your daughter home. If they resist, call the police. I walked up to the door and knocked. Gloria answered, her face twisted with rage when she saw me. You need to leave, she said. I have a court order granting me full custody. I'm here to get Amara. You're not taking her anywhere. Mrs. Fletcher, I can call the police right now and have them escort me. Or you can let me get my daughter peacefully. Your choice. For a moment I thought she might physically block me. But then Devin appeared behind her, looking defeated. Let her go, Mama, he said quietly. It's over. Gloria's face crumpled. But she stepped aside. Amara was in the living room watching television. She looked up when I walked in, confusion crossing her face. Hi, baby, I said, kneeling down. I have some good news. You get to come home with me. Today. For good. Really? Her eyes went wide. Really? We need to pack your things. All your things. You're coming home. She ran to me then, threw her arms around my neck. I get to come home? I get to stay with you? Forever, baby. You're coming home. We packed her room together. Her clothes, her toys, her books. Gloria stood in the doorway the whole time, silent and furious. Devin helped carry bags to my car, wouldn't meet my eyes. As I was loading the last bag into the trunk, Devin finally spoke. I'm sorry, he said quietly. I shouldn't have. I thought I was doing the right thing. I looked at him. This man I'd loved for 10 years, who I'd supported through every failed plan and broken promise, who'd repaid me by trying to destroy my life. You weren't doing the right thing, I said. You were doing the easy thing. There's a difference. I didn't wait for his response. I got in my car, buckled Amara into the back seat, and drove away from that house for the last time. Tasha was waiting at her apartment when we arrived, ready to help bring everything inside. But Amara had other plans. Can we go to our house? She asked. The real house. Can we go home? I looked at Rochelle's copy of the court order. The judge had granted me immediate occupancy. Devin had 48 hours to remove his belongings. Yeah, baby, I said. Let's go home. I drove to the house I'd been locked out of 3 months earlier. Used the key the locksmith had made for me that morning. Walked through the door with my daughter's hand in mine. The house was a mess. Dishes piled in the sink. Laundry everywhere. Mail stacked on the counter. But it was mine. Ours. Mama, Amara said, looking around, it doesn't feel the same. That's because we're going to make it better. We're going to clean it up, redecorate your room however you want, make it feel like home again. It'll take some time, but we'll do it together. She smiled, the first real smile I'd seen in months. Can I have glow-in-the-dark stars on my ceiling? You can have whatever you want, baby. We spent the rest of the day cleaning and organizing. Tasha came over with pizza for dinner. We ate sitting on the floor of the living room, surrounded by boxes and bags, and it was the best meal I'd had in months. That night, I tucked Amara into her own bed in her own room for the first time since the lockout. I read her the 3 books she loved. I prayed with her. I kissed her forehead. Mama, she said as I was about to turn off the light. I'm sorry I said those things. About you being angry and scary. Grandma Gloria told me to say them and I didn't want to, but she said it would help Daddy. My heart broke all over again. Baby, that wasn't your fault. You didn't do anything wrong. Sometimes grown-ups do bad things and kids get caught in the middle. But that's not your fault. I knew they weren't true. I didn't know what else to do. You're 7 years old. It's not your job to know what to do in situations like that. But it's over now. You're home and you're safe and nobody's going to make you say things that aren't true anymore. She nodded, already half asleep. I love you, Mama. I love you too, baby. More than anything in the world. I left her room and went downstairs where Tasha was finishing the dishes. You did it, she said. You really did it. I kept the evidence, I said. Every receipt, every text, every document. I kept it all because I knew I'd need it. You're amazing, you know that? I shook my head. I'm just a mother who wouldn't give up on her daughter. 6 months later, life looked different. Better. Amara was thriving. Her grades had improved. She joined an after-school science club. She talked about her friends, her dreams, her plans to be an astronaut. The withdrawn, coached version of her that Gloria had created was gone, replaced by the bright, confident girl I'd always known. Devin saw her every other weekend, supervised visits at the Family Services Center. He was taking the parenting classes the judge had ordered, learning how to actually be present for his daughter instead of just physically there. I didn't know if he'd ever really change, but at least he was trying. And Amara seemed okay with the arrangement. She didn't dread the visits, but she was always happy to come home. Gloria had sent one letter of apology through her lawyer, probably written by the lawyer. I'd read it once and thrown it away. I didn't need her apology. I just needed her out of our lives. The 6-month prohibition on unsupervised contact had been extended after she tried to contact Amara through her cousin. When you try to work around a court order, judges tend to notice. She wouldn't be getting unsupervised time anytime soon. The house sold after 3 months on the market. I'd gotten my half of the proceeds, enough for a down payment on a smaller place closer to the hospital. Amara and I had picked it out together, a townhouse with a little backyard and room for her to grow. Her room had glow-in-the-dark stars on the ceiling and posters of planets on the walls and a bookshelf full of space books. I'd even started dating again. Nothing serious, just coffee with a doctor from the hospital who'd asked me out after hearing about my case. He was kind and funny and didn't run when I told him about the custody battle. But I wasn't in a rush. I had time. Today was Saturday, our library day. We'd reinstated all our old routines: library on Saturday mornings, museum once a month, park whenever the weather was nice. Amara was back to being the girl who talked my ear off about everything, who gave the best hugs, who cried at sad movies. We were in the space section when she found a book about the Mars rover. Mama, look. This one talks about the engineers who built it. I want to be one of them someday. An engineer? I smiled. I thought you wanted to be an astronaut. I can be both. First I'll build the spaceships, then I'll fly them. Sounds like a good plan. As we checked out our stack of books, the librarian, Mrs. Palmer, who'd known us for years, smiled at us. It's so good to see you two back together. I was worried when I didn't see you for a while. We had some stuff to work through, I said. But we're good now. Better than good, Amara chimed in. We're home. And she was right. We were home. Not just in the physical sense of having a place to live, but in the deeper sense of being where we belonged. Together. That afternoon, Tasha came over for dinner. We cooked together in the kitchen while Amara worked on a science project at the table. It was loud and chaotic and perfect. You know what I realized? I said to Tasha as we chopped vegetables. I spent years trying to be everything: perfect wife, perfect mother, perfect nurse. Trying to hold everything together while Devin contributed nothing. And I was so focused on keeping the peace that I didn't see what was happening. He was building a case against me with every frustrated moment, every long shift, every time I was too tired to be perfect. You were never the problem, Tasha said. You know that now, right? Yeah, I do. And I know that even if I'd done everything perfectly, he still would have found a way to make me the villain. Because that's what he needed to justify what he was doing. But you won. You fought back and you won. I won because I kept the evidence. Because I documented everything. Because I didn't let him gaslight me into believing his version of reality. I looked over at Amara, absorbed in her project. And I won because I knew who I was. I knew I was a good mother. That knowledge kept me fighting even when everything felt hopeless. Later, after Tasha left and Amara was asleep, I sat in the living room with a cup of tea and thought about everything that had happened. The lockout. The false allegations. The custody battle. The months of supervised visits. The evidence I'd collected. The testimony. The verdict. It had been the hardest fight of my life. But I'd won. And more than that, I'd proven to myself that I was stronger than I'd ever known. My phone buzzed. A text from Rochelle. Just heard from Preston. Devin's petition for increased visitation was denied. Judge Hayes said he hasn't demonstrated sufficient progress. Thought you'd want to know. I smiled. Good. He'd have to actually do the work if he wanted to be in Amara's life more. No more shortcuts. No more lies. Just real, actual parenting. I turned off the lights and headed upstairs. Checked on Amara, who was sleeping peacefully with her stuffed rabbit tucked under her arm. Kissed her forehead. We made it, baby, I whispered. We're going to be okay. And for the first time in a long time, I believed it completely. 1 year after the verdict, I got a call from a woman I didn't know. Her name was Simone, different spelling but same name. She'd gotten my number from a domestic violence advocacy group. I'm going through something similar, she said. My husband is trying to take my kids, claiming I'm unfit. His lawyer is the same one your husband used. Preston Hill. And I don't know what to do. A friend who works at the courthouse told me about your case and said you might be able to help. I met her for coffee. Listened to her story. Heard the familiar pattern, the financial abuse, the false allegations, the manipulation. She was terrified. Defeated. Ready to give up. Don't, I told her. Don't give up. Fight back. Document everything. Every text, every email, every payment, every moment. Build your case piece by piece. Get a lawyer who believes you. I'll give you Rochelle's number. And remember that the truth always comes out eventually. It just takes time and evidence. I don't know if I'm strong enough, she said. You are. Trust me. You're stronger than you think. And you're not alone. There are so many of us who fought this fight and won. You can too. She thanked me with tears in her eyes. I gave her my number and told her to call anytime. Over the next few months, I talked to 3 more women in similar situations. Gave them advice. Connected them with resources. Shared my story to give them hope. And I realized that maybe this whole nightmare had a purpose. Maybe I'd gone through it so I could help others survive it too. Amara was doing great. Straight as. Still obsessed with space. Still the funniest, kindest, bravest girl I knew. Devin had completed his parenting classes and graduated to unsupervised visits, which he actually showed up for most of the time. He'd never be father of the year, but he was trying. That was something. Gloria had moved to another state to live with her sister. Good riddance. And me? I was thriving. I'd gotten a promotion at work, nurse supervisor for the pediatric wing. I was dating that doctor seriously now. Amara liked him. He liked her. No rush, but it felt good to have someone who saw my strength instead of trying to diminish it. On the 2-year anniversary of the lockout, Amara and I went to the library like we did every Saturday. As we browsed the space section, she said, Mama, can I ask you something? Always, baby. Are you glad that all that stuff happened? With Daddy and Grandma Gloria and the court. I thought about it. I'm not glad it happened. It was horrible and painful and I wouldn't wish it on anyone. But I'm glad we survived it together. And I'm glad it taught us both how strong we are. I'm glad too, she said. Because now I know that even when bad things happen we can get through them. As long as we're together. As long as we're together, I agreed. She hugged me tight, right there in the middle of the library. I love you, Mama. I love you too, baby. More than all the stars in the sky. And that was the truth. Through all the lies and manipulation, through the custody battle and the supervised visits, through every moment of doubt and fear, that truth had never changed. I was her mother. She was my daughter. And nothing, not false allegations or court orders or parental alienation, could ever change that. We were home. We were together. We were okay. And that was everything.